Hello everybody, welcome along. My name is Benjamin Bloom. This is the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel. Please leave your bias at the door and join me because we're going to talk about Leeds United 5, Newcastle 2. And I wanted to jump on this one early this morning. I was doing championship stuff last night, so wasn't in dearly departed mode. But I know that a lot of my Leeds supporting friends were a bit flat after the defeat against West Ham and the set play goals and worrying about a little downward trend towards that bottom quarter of the table. So great win for Leeds last night. The biggest win indeed, or the win in which they scored the most goals this season. Bielsa keeps it unchanged despite the defeat against West Ham last time out. So Meslier in goal. Alioski and Dallas are the fullbacks. Remember, he did rip that up at half-time, didn't he? And put Shackleton in at right back, and then Dallas went back to left back. So he's funny, Bielsa. Whenever something goes wrong and you're trying to figure out what changes are going to be made, it's often just an unchanged team, and they just go back to it and work on it again and again. Repetition and belief in the philosophy is absolute with Mr. Bielsa. Cooper and Ayling centre halves. From what I'm told, that might be the case for a little while with Koch and Llorente both injured. Obviously, Phillips sits in front of the back four. Click, Rodriguez central, Rafinha right. Costa, well, not even on the bench this time. And Harrison down the left, Pat Bamford up the top. For Leeds, could they make it work against another, well, we call them pragmatic, awkward managers to play against? Kammerkropper against Nuno and Roy Hodgson and Brendan Rodgers and David Moyes as well into the bargain now. Here comes Steve Bruce with his Newcastle and his 4-4-2. There, Darlow in goal. Jacob Murphy fullback, really? Fernandez and Clark, Jamal Lewis the other side. So maybe Leeds would have looked at those two fullbacks and thought, okay, Fraser and Hendrick wide with Longstaff and Hayden central, Callum Wilson and Joe Linton. So perhaps a team with a front two. So maybe you can outnumber them in central midfield, although we know a Steve Bruce team will get behind the ball and have a good team shape. And maybe exploitable at fullback, let's just say, this Newcastle team. And what a great win and performance this was by Leeds. However, they do go behind. That is Jeff Hendrick on the 26th minute. You can see Ryan Fraser in the bottom of the picture. Again, across into the box. That's going to be a theme today. This is like an 80s game, this. There's about 8 goals from crosses in it. That's a joke. Obviously, there's only 7 goals in the game. So Fraser crosses it in. Wilson, you can see, has just got in front of Ayling, flicks it near post, and there's Hendrick to pop it in at the far post. I suppose Ayling's been so good for Leeds, but do they need help in January at centre-half if Llorente and Koch is long-term? Another aerial. Well, we'll talk about that in relation to the second goal as well. But Hendrick steals in there on the far post, gives Newcastle the lead. I guess Alioski gets a bit caught out there. Should be on the cover there, the fullback. But Hendrick steals it. It's a good flick by Wilson, to be fair. Hendrick with the finish. There's the man. Look, Pat Bamford. I could have scored that one, I think. So the cross has gone in from Rafinha on the right. You can see 18. He's just watching on. Rodrigo, who's becoming a very useful central midfield runner into the box. He headers against the bar, goes up in the air, and Bamford heads it in. Quickly on Rodrigo, when they were in the Championship and didn't get promoted in 18-19, I always said the one position they needed to fill was next to Click in central midfield with a kind of 8.5, someone who is a central midfielder but can get into the box and score. And they start the next season. They had Forshaw essentially in that position, who could never quite get fit. and Tyler Roberts did it, and then Hernandez ended up having to do it by default, and maybe they've finally filled that position. And you just think with the way Bielsa plays with a one up top and overloads down the side, having that guy that can get into the box from central midfield. I know Click's good, but he's also required to do a lot of other stuff, isn't he? So I always thought that was a hole to fill, and they seem to have filled it with Rodrigo. Let's see if he can get some goals now, because he keeps hitting the woodwork, doesn't he? And he does again here. But Pat Bamford doesn't. He keeps scoring. I've got his stats there in the corner. You can see 13 games started. He plays 85 minutes a game. 9 goals in the 13 games. 122 minutes per goal. So a goal every, well, if he plays 3 halves of football, he's going to score a goal every 3 halves, isn't he? Brilliant. 0.7 goals per game. And look down the bottom there as well. I know Bamford's got a lot of heat over his time there. 9 big chances missed as well. Could be even more goals for Bamford, who's having a great season. I wonder how many he'll get. Can he get 15? Who knows? He's on for it, isn't he? We'll see if he can keep it up and stay injury-free. 1-1. And Leeds take the lead. This is a brilliant goal. Absolutely brilliant goal, this. And I should have saved my Rodrigo spiel for this goal, because this is exactly what you want. This is outstanding. I think it's Rafinha who switches it from right to left. It's not the best pass, actually. It's nice and quick. But in the words of Dennis Bergkamp, don't worry about the pass. I'll control it. And Jack Harrison makes a slightly misdirected pass look absolutely brilliant. He pulls it down out of the sky with his left foot. And again, we'll talk about leads and crosses in a bit, but he crosses this one on the half volley. Nice and early, so decisive. And Rodrigo arriving, just bullets their header in from, well, way out. Look, behind the penalty spot there into Darlow's corner to his left. It's a brilliant goal. Absolutely brilliant. Sometimes we can accuse Leeds of just overplaying the build-up a little bit. When it clicks, they never do that, and they're decisive and rip teams to shreds, don't they? This was the case here, and Harrison, just a quick switch of play, and maybe that's just an extra feather to the bow that Leeds fans would probably like to see their team just have in the armour. Like I say, string to the bow. To say feather to the bow, mixing my metaphors there. But that ability, we see teams like Spurs who are just absolutely ruthless with quick counters. If Leeds can add that in, where they can switch a play, get the ball into the box, get a runner onto it, and get the goals, then bodes well, doesn't it? What doesn't bode well is here is another set play conceded by Leeds. It's incredible. We had some really sensible debate in the comments on the last Dearly Departed video about this. So Fraser puts the corner in. I mean, I'm sorry, I do like Ailing, but his body position's wrong. He's not goal side. He's facing the wrong way. Clark, it's only a standing jump as well, and he heads it in. I had really good replies from Josh in the comments last time. Maybe they need to actually look at the setup, because they never have a man on the posts either, do they, Leeds? It's sort of a mix of man-to-man. You normally get that, don't you, with a player on the near post, a player in the sort of middle zone, a player on the edge of the box, everyone else man-to-man, sometimes one on the halfway line as well. Maybe they need someone on the post now. Maybe they actually need to look at the setup, because they're just conceding so many set play goals now. Even their good headers like Cooper getting beaten in the air in the game against West Ham for the second goal. So I don't know your thoughts on that, but it will hamper them badly through the season if it's continually set play goals. And you wonder, does it get in the heads as well when they're starting to defend the set plays? A little bit more nervous, a little less engaged, standing a little bit too deep. I'm sure they'll work on it, obviously, but I wonder if there is a little tweak to be made. Anyway, 2-2. Here's another headed goal from another cross into the box. And just strange, isn't it? Because we're so used to Leeds building up the play, building up an attack down the left or the right, the sides of the pitch, and the fullback will come forward and the midfielder will come across. And more often than not, when the guy overlaps, he doesn't actually get the ball. It goes to the guy inside who then plays it to the guy who's overlapped. And then you'll get a low cross and they're trying to score a tap-in. And we've said 100 times on the channel, good teams score tap-ins because they rip you to shreds. But again, switch of play, click, cross into the box. They let it bounce, this one. And Dallas, well, very much like Jeff Hendrick in the first half, although Hendrick's a right midfielder, Dallas is a right fullback, in on the back post. They let the cross bounce and he headers in. But again, Leeds nice and decisive with crosses into the box here. And they go 3-2 up. And the end of this game, there's Alioski putting the fourth in, has the air of a game from the end of last season where Leeds were cruising in really to winning the championship title. And after lockdown, they would dominate teams and then bring Pablo Hernandez on and then just pick them off another couple of times. And here we go with this one. It's a big counter. Newcastle have got men up in the box. And then you get that sprint of 3 or 4 white shirts into the box. I think it's Rafinha to Hernandez. Hernandez stops, obviously. He's come off the bench. He picks the right pass to Alioski, who is in 1v1 with Darlow. Sticks it in left-footed. Leeds pick him off on the break. Hernandez getting used now after he had a bit of a hissy fit, didn't he, when he got subbed earlier in the season. I think this is the first time we've seen him since. And he's going to get another assist, actually. Although, there's assists and then there's assists, isn't there? And this is an assist where I remember there's a really good data special on the channel and the data analyst said, don't pay attention to assists, Ben. Pay attention to key passes. Obviously, someone like Pablo Hernandez gets a ton of those. But because some assists are like this one, where you play it to Jack Harrison inside his own half, and he then dribbles down the pitch, works it onto his left foot, and smashes it into the top corner. How far is he out there? He's miles out, isn't he? 25 yards out. He's going to hit it left-footed through the 2 covering Newcastle players, and it flies into the top corner. What a goal by Harrison, as Leeds just punishing Newcastle on the counter in the last 5 minutes to go 5-2 up in this one. And you Leeds fans who watch my dearly departed shows are going to be much, much happier with this today, aren't you? As ever. I just had a little search back at Bielsa big wins. I wondered, is this the biggest? It's certainly the biggest Premier League win. And yes, I know we're going to get some pedants who judge a big win on how many goals they've won by rather than how many goals they've scored. Whatever, you judge it how you like. But here are the wins, big wins involving more than 4 or 5 goals. And yes, for the pedant comments, I'm aware Leeds did score 5 goals at Birmingham in a 5-4 victory. I'm not really going to call that a big comfortable win because they were behind about 5 times and scored a 94th minute winner, didn't they? Or something thereabouts. But you'll remember the big one against Derby where I think it's Bielsa's second game where we were all like, wow, look at this. I remember Ruth just punishing Derby in that one. A 4-0 against West Brom. And West Brom at the top of the table. It might even have been top there. Certainly it was Leeds, Norwich, West Brom, Sheffield United all up the top there shooting out for that. I remember Hernandez scoring early in that one. Then a bit of a gap there. 8 months to the next one. Woodgate's Middlesbrough getting dispatched. I think Leeds were 6 or 7 win streak. That was in the middle of that there. And then the back end of last season, like I say, where they just punished teams. I was at that game against Hull. Leeds were brilliant. And then the post-lockdown, the games, like I said, where they're cruising in 5-0 against Stoke, bring Hernandez in the second half and just demolish them. And the last game of the season, which ultimately did for Charlton, didn't it? They got relegated off that and a 4-0 victory. So we have seen this before from Leeds. When it does click, if you'll excuse the pun, it really, really clicks. And they can get these big cricket scores with 4s and 5s in their games. There's the numbers in this one. Look down the right. And just a very sustainable performance, which we always look for. 68 possession, 25 shots. Forget that. 10 on target. and 3 big chances, 7 corners to 4. Hit woodwork as well, 5-3 passes. So, Leeds, good for their 5 goals by the look of it. Just the worry still, and we have to have them, 2 big chances for Newcastle in the game. Leeds won't always score 5 goals. And 3 of their victories this season have come with clean sheets in the game. So they just want to work that back. Possession teams always do well defensively, don't they, traditionally? Because if you dominate the ball, ergo, there's less moments where you give the opportunity for the opponents to actually make chances. However, Leeds play possession football, but it's very pacey possession football. So rather than the sort of slow build-up team, they do leave themselves more open. We see players charging forward, don't we? Particularly from full-back. And more often than not, if teams get leads on the transition, you'll have 2 centre-halves and Calvin Phillips with lots of players running at them often. But that is the risk-reward dynamic. Great stuff, though. A 5-2 win for Leeds against Newcastle. I suggested in the preview, have Newcastle got less quality than some of the other teams Leeds have lost to in this manner. I'm not going to talk about the Liverpool game because that wasn't a stoic, pragmatic manager. But the Wolves game, the Leicester game, the Palace game and the West Ham game, Newcastle probably do have slightly less quality than those teams. And Leeds punished them. And now, if you are of the view that a good season for Leeds would be 12th or 13th or something of that nature, we'll look at the table in a minute. Well, they have now beaten Fulham, Sheffield United and Newcastle, who are currently below them. Also Aston Villa and Everton, who are above them. But you start to figure out where a team lies in the hierarchy as the games build up by who they've beaten. More often than not, and obviously I'm stating the bleeding obvious, this is how league tables work. You beat the teams below them, and you lose to the teams above you, don't you? So with that being said, let's have a look at the table. Leeds move above Newcastle, 17 points from 13 games. Let me just do a quick calculation on what's the points per game. That 17 divided by 13, 1.3. So just tickling 50 points now, 49.3, which would be excellent, wouldn't it, for a first season in the Premier League if they can keep that up. And you do have to look at it this way in the Premier League. Who's finishing below them? Well, big gaps. I mean, you can write off Sheffield United at the moment. They're not finishing above anyone at the moment, are they? But then 10 more points than West Brom, 8 more points than Burnley and Fulham, 6-point gap down to Brighton and above Newcastle and Arsenal. The worry is obviously Arsenal, traditionally big club, will likely have a little push up the table. But can they, Leeds, it's hard, isn't it? Can they claw up another couple of positions there? And some of those teams that we've already mentioned, Palace, Villa, Wolves, and you'd expect the 2 Manchester clubs maybe to bump up another couple of positions as well. So, looking good, especially at 1.3 points per game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As ever, as this is a dearly departed video, we're sponsored by fan sponsor Jay Coyle, dearly departed, also known as Ben. Couldn't bear to lose us. Jay sponsors all our dearly departed stuff, so thank you very, very much. Jay, you too can get involved over on Patreon if you want to support my work here. Very, very much enjoying doing it. Getting closer to being able to go part-time or full-time and really doing this as a viable concern. So please do go over www.patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Anyway, more importantly, it's absolutely free to hit subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, but more importantly than that, I'm repeating myself, comment, get your comments in on the latest victory for Leeds. What does it do to the landscape? Did you learn anything new? What about the this extra ability to get early crosses in and whether that's something they maybe need to add in terms of decisiveness in attack? Let me know what you think. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And Hopefully going to have my Leeds friends are going to be much happier today after this one, because it was Leeds 5, Newcastle 2. Over and out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button to see more videos from this channel. Hit the subscribe button and to be notified every time we upload. Ring the bell for those notifications to come through on your device. If you really want to support the channel and me as a content creator, I will be eternally grateful if you head over to the merch store and grab something, or support over on Patreon, patreon.com/Benjamin Bloom. Thank you for your time. Go and watch another video.